Good morning, everyone. This is Yo. It's Saturday morning here in BC, and today I'm going to be talking about something else than World PVNH Day. There is a situation that's happening here in BC that is quite worrisome to a lot of us in the rare disease world, and especially one of those end of the world decision that's been made for a family that is on Vancouver Island. Their daughter Charleigh suffers from BattenDisease, and Charleigh has had access to a very expensive drug called Brineura for, I think, the last 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, with injections every week to give her enzymes that are necessary to stop the progression of Batten disease. And in the last couple of months, there's been refusal from the government, health government here in BC, to continue administering the drug or paying for the administration of the drug to Charleigh. And so her mother has been fighting, tooth and nail and with all her heart. And my heart goes out to her because I know how devastating such a news can be, because they wanted to stop, the government wanted to stop giving the drug because, they say it's not a money question, but a drug is almost $1 million a year to administer. And so I can't help but wonder if that's playing into it. Although they say that that's not the case. And after back and forth and even having BattenDisease fly in and go and meet in Victoria, the health minister with Jory and, Charlie's mom, to go and talk about the situation and how the drug still continues to benefit Charleigh at this stage, then, they were faced with another refusal, but with a glimpse of hope, saying, we will review what you've brought us. And what has been brought forward was more recent BattenDisease expert, not only testimony, but clinical research and data that was more recent than what the committee had been basing themselves on. And so what's happening is yesterday, Charlie's mom received the news that once again, there was a denial and that the government of BC is stopping to pay for Brineura, which means, in no simple words, it's euthanasia for a 10-year-old child that is going to slowly and painfully die from a rare disorder instead of slowing the progression of that rare disorder. BattenDisease, if you don't know, is a neurodegenerative disease that will ultimately take a life. But some children grow up to be, 12, 16, in early adulthood sometimes. And the fact that Charleigh just celebrated her 10th birthday, that the medication has dramatically slowed the progression of her disease, and that the experts are saying that the drug is still contributing to the slowdown of the disease and that she could continue to live, should be enough, in my opinion, for a committee to be able to accept that the government pays for the drug. There is the committee that's called the EDRD, which is the expensive drugs for rare disease, that's been weighing on this question, in addition to subcommittees of doctors from the Canada Health Agency. And so I can't help but wonder if any of those doctors truly have BattenDisease recent and clear expertise. I don't know. Those names are not made public, and I can understand why, because there'd definitely be a public outcry, as there is anyway, against, there's tons of backlash here in BC and around the world against the BC government. But it begs to wonder what is exactly is going on behind closed doors. Is this report ever going to be made public? Can we, in fact, as citizens, put forth a request for information for that report and how they based their decision? I'm curious about that. And the reason I'm asking and the reason I'm questioning myself is because, as you know, I lost Ella to X-linked PVNH. In Ella's case, it was because her lungs were no longer functioning. And in Canada at this time, and still to this day, there are no lung transplants on babies under 2, let alone under 4. There's been one first lung transplant that's been done on a 4-year-old, and I think that was, I want to say, like maybe 6 or maybe a little bit longer than that ago. But a lung transplant on a baby that's less than a year old or a year old, we didn't know at the time was already happening overseas and in the US. And so, but then Ella passed away undiagnosed. So had we had a quicker diagnosis for her, I found out the diagnosis after she died, could we have saved her? Not in Canada. The situation's very different for Jory's family and Charleigh, the little girl, because she has been treated with this medication. So essentially, taking away the medication now is making her death a quick and painful one, more than likely. Like, we don't know how long it's going to take, but the progression based on the expert is going to be an excruciating one. And I have no doubt that the progression is going to go quick. And so what that raises for the world of rare disease is, just like it happened years ago for the cystic fibrosis community who had their drugs payment denied, let alone, drugs that were working somewhere else allowed into Canada. We're going to see more than likely those types of decisions based on God knows what, God knows who's been part of that committee that knows really or doesn't a disorder that in this case affects one child at this moment in BC and less than 200 in Canada for BattenDisease. And so what are we talking about when we talk about a child that has a disease, a rare disorder, and she or he is the only one that has this disease and that the drug is more expensive than $1 million? What's going to happen in this case? There are currently more than 7,000 known rare diseases. Collectively, we're a huge group. Collectively, we make up, more people probably than cancer, but cancer patients, I should say. But, taken individually, like if I take Ella's case, she was one in less than 1 million affected at the time based on Orphanet, so European data, based on Orphanet's prevalence, she was less than 1 in 1 million. And so what does that mean for those children who may have a drug that is going to be so costly? And what people need to understand as well is that, yes, there's genetic advancement being made every day. 80% or so of rare disease have a genetic basis. 30% of children in Canada will not make it to their 10th birthday if they have a rare disease. It was about 25% for children under 5. So that's 1 in 4 children with the rare disease that will not see their 5th birthday. And Ella was part of that statistics. So, like, this is not only happening in Canada, it's happening in the US, it's happening in Europe. What are we going to do? And I'm talking now as Canadians, to be able to secure the future of our children so that we don't provoke a death that is rapidly happening when it could have been, I won't say prolonged, because you know, you live, right? Ella was sick. Ella, for the most part, didn't know she was sick. Ella was happy. I see pictures of Charleigh. I've seen video. She's a happy child. She has her challenges. There's ways, so many ways in which she's different, just like Ella was, from other children, but she still lives. And so to be taking away her right to live is inhumane. It's incredibly cruel. It is going to scar her parents for the rest of their lives. They're going to carry not only this grief, but this anger and this guilt, no doubt. I had situations when Ella was alive that, I mean, like, at one point I was told, if Ella wasn't so bright and vivacious, we would have let her go a long time ago. Ella was barely 3 months old. How do you react to that? How do you react to being told this drug, probably the cost of it, or whatever the reason behind it, because we don't think it's gonna help Charleigh anymore, or Ella, or any other child. We think that this is not appropriate and it is valued more than the life of a child. What kind of a society are we that we put that forth? And so today I'll ask you, if you have a chance, to go and educate yourself about Charleigh's story. There is a petition still going on. The family is now trying to find ways in which, even though it's been at least 8 days since she hasn't had an injection or an infusion, if there's ways that she could still access by private payment, perhaps, the drug, if there is a compassionate program offered by the manufacturer of the drug, if there is any other way. So there is a petition, and there is also a GoFundMe that's been started for the families, so that if they have to go and pay for the medication, if they're able still to save their child, they'll obviously try to do that. And you know, it'll help with the cost of keeping Charleigh comfortable until her time is up. And so, like you're saying, I'm getting super emotional about this, and it just kills me. As a mother, as a rare disease advocate, as someone that's been through something similar, albeit with, you know, very different circumstances, I just can't imagine what they're going through, even though I know deep down some of what they're going through. And anything we can do to help spread the word, but also be aware as a rare disease patient and family that this is the tip of the iceberg that we may have to face in the future. And so this serves us as a huge red flag and a terrible warning of the way that rare disease patients may very well be looked at, considered, or not considered, I should say, and that the decision of a medical committee who may or may not, like I said, I don't know that they actually have recent up-to-date medical expertise on Batten or on the rare disease that you, your child, your family member may have, or your friend expertise in, and that decision lies in their hands, and that you may not be able to do anything about it. And so, yeah, it's time to take action more than ever, and to band together and to support Charlie's family. Thank you.